Well, welcome everyone. I'm Nathan. I'm the operations manager at University of British Columbia for the Student Recreation Center, as well as one of our fitness centers. So as you can imagine, we're impacted quite a bit by COVID with reduced capacities and canceled intramurals and things like that. So I have a few questions and topics that I would like to discuss today, but I also want to keep it kind of an open forum. I guess the main thing is around customer service and how we're dealing with our customers during these trying times, and what concessions we've had to make and changes to operations and things like that. So I think there'll be a good chance the next hour here to share some really good ideas. And as I mentioned just before we started here, I know the West is a little bit behind in case numbers compared to some of the Eastern schools, but love to hear some ideas of what people are working on or what's impacting their operations. And we'll go from there. Does anyone have any agenda items they want to add off the start, and we can kind of go through those? You guys just want to kind of have an open chat. Does that work with everyone? Awesome, cool. Well, I can get us started, I guess. And the biggest one I have in my mind is how is with the recent COVID, how has it impacted your facility operations and your customer service as well? You know, whether it be closures or staffing or anything like that. Does anyone want to start with that? Does anyone want to share? Yeah, Ada?
I can start. So we were closed since March, and we opened to just our athletics teams in September. So we were closed all spring, all summer, and sorry, Lethbridge College. Not sure if you can see it on my name, but so when I say we, I mean our fitness center, our rec center, the phys ed building. And then we opened to staff and students in the middle of October. So we have very reduced numbers because, as probably all of you are, the campus is basically closed. All the classes are online. Most of the staff are working from home. We do have some labs going on campus, but we have very, very reduced numbers. We have our team still practicing. We're not open to the public yet. We're hoping to open in January to the public, but we haven't been given permission for that yet. So we have a few staff back. Most of the staff are not back because we just don't have the need right now. And our numbers of COVID are going up very rapidly in Alberta. So we're just hoping to be able to be open again in January to staff and students. And that's kind of where we're standing right now, just kind of holding on for dear life is what it kind of feels like at the moment. So.
Have you had public reach out to you about wanting to come to your facilities?
Yeah, we've had lots of public reach out. They're quite angry actually because our facility has the only squash and racquetball courts in Lethbridge. And so those are the people that are very upset that we're not open and that we didn't open back in June when the government, allowed us to open, but our school did not allow us to open. So we're going to have challenges when we do open, just because people are upset.
Yeah, totally. So it's your school that's saying you can't open your facilities to the public then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, they're being very overly cautious. I'm not the one to say they're making the right decision or the wrong decision, but they are being very cautious in their decision making.
Yeah. And then, so you just opened, you said just in the middle of October, so you've only been open a month for staff and
So we were open to the athletes for practices and just to come and use the facility on a drop-in basis for about a month and a half. And then it's been about a month that we've been open to staff and students, but not very many people are coming, basically. I don't know. People had a long time to figure out something different, I think, and do their workouts at home, and the students aren't on campus and most of the staff aren't on campus, and they're just doing something else right now.
Yeah, so you do have capacity in your facilities for more people to come? Yeah.
Yep, we do.
Yeah. Wow. So, yeah, that's a long time to be closed. So you've only been open for a month then. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the staff were all laid off for, up until the beginning of September. Some staff came back, but the majority of the student staff aren't back. We just have a few people back. So it's going to be challenging trying to rebuild everything, because it kind of feels like we're back to square one almost, and that we're going to have a lot of work to do when we are allowed to open back up.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, Ada. That's good to hear your experiences. We're not far off. I can share some of mine later. But does anyone else want to share how their operations are going? Yeah, Art?
Sure. I guess we'd be in what could be considered the epicenter of the country in Toronto there. So we've had a lot of back and forth and very few decisions we've been able to make on our own. I'll try and keep this brief. We did some virtual training right off the bat, and we've continued that the whole way through. We did some outdoor fitness classes and some outdoor varsity work over the summer, which was nice. We continued that into October. And we were finally able to open the fitness center, limited capacity, September 21st. We got 3 weeks in before we were shut down. And then we've just opened up again today with further limitations. So the initial limitations, we ended up doing 25 people at a time, 125 people a day in the fitness center, where normally we would have 500 to 800 in a day. And now we're doing 9 people per visit. We're going to get 16 a day. We couldn't meet the demand before. We're certainly not meeting it now, but it's something. We do have 3,000 to 4,000 students living on campus, despite us being primarily a commuter school. And we're promoting specifically to those living on campus. We're not providing anything for staff. We're not excluding community members from coming on. We're just not, we're not excluding students that live off campus from coming into the fitness center, but we're not promoting it all to them. Trying to limit it that way a little bit. We've done some varsity stuff at our athletic center. We've toyed with doing a few different things in there, here and there as well. But I'm expecting us to be shut down any day now again, to be honest with you. Like many other places, we're climbing, and the whole city's kind of wondering why there's anything open right now. So our customer service staff part-time, we've been able to hire a few back for a couple hours here and there just for this round. So they're starting today. Otherwise, we've been fortunate enough to be employed throughout with all the virtual programming we're doing. Full-time staff have remained employed and are doing, some shifts on site, some shifts at home with the limited hours and such. So that's kind of the brief version of what's going on for York.
Yeah, thanks, Art, for sharing. I was kind of assuming that with the Toronto area, like you said, the epicenter. So when you guys reopened again today, did you have to resubmit all your safety plans and everything to York and to the province?
No, our emergency operations center on site approved our previous plan. All we needed to do this time was the increased restrictions that came into play as we moved into this phased approach. So, 3 meters for our fitness equipment was that, and the 9-person maximum were the only 2 changes really for us. So we didn't have to resubmit for anything else that we hope to do. If we want to open a squash court or another room, we'll have to go through that process each time.
Yeah, for sure. So with only 9 people, are your sessions an hour long for your fitness centers?
We were going to do that. And then when we decided just to go 45 minutes and then 30 minutes for foggings in between, just to try and get an extra couple of sessions in the day. Yeah. So that a few more people could come. We were 75 minutes when we were open for 25 people per. And then 45-minute cleanings in between. So we've tossed around lots of ideas, as I'm sure everybody has.
Yeah. And obviously you probably did pre-registration for your fitness sessions as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's actually mandatory for us. But yeah, we had that set up as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big change for us too. And I actually really like it. And I think after COVID times, I think we're going to continue with it, because then who's in your facility and who comes, and get more accurate attendance numbers, I think. So I actually like it, but capacity is our issue too, Art, is that we can only have so many people per session, and obviously people are complaining that the sessions get full within a minute, right?
Well, and the no-shows were driving us crazy. So I just couldn't believe that people were signing up, and so I like the registration. I don't like the no-show piece. We've got a 3 strikes and you're out kind of rolling that, but that was a pain in the butt.
Art, I could talk to you for another day about no-shows and the struggles we're having here. We could touch base on a little bit later, but I don't want to waste everyone's time on no-shows. So I feel your pain, because we're having very similar issues with no-shows. Why would you sign up, take a spot, and then not show up, right? Anywhere else you go, the doctor's office or dentist or whatever, if you can't come, you cancel, right? It's just common courtesy. I don't know why people can't do that at fitness centers, but they can't, hey? So Okay, thanks, Art. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate that, and good luck with things moving forward. Does anyone else want to share?
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
just
jump in.
go
Oh,
ahead.
go, Jenna. Okay, Jenna muted first. Similar to kind of, Art down the water a little bit, it's been a little unique in Ontario as a whole because although we're, just down the road from the GTA, what happens there has a drastic effect on what happens in our region. And so we kind of watch what's happening and are empathetic with Art and the team there and what they're going through, and also kind of like, please just stay there. Like, don't travel. There's lots of people who come from all over the country to come to Queens in our little town, but we want people to stay. The thing is, there's about 6,000 students on campus that are registered to be doing in-person classes across all the different class groups. But there are more in town who had rentals and have chosen to come to town instead of living at mom and dad's. So usually we average about 20,000 unique visitors to our facility over this school year. So far, we're sitting at 3,900 unique visitors since we reopened in September. We took a phased approach to the opening. We opened just for students the first week and then added in varsity athletes and then started adding in different membership groups. In early October or mid-October, we opened up the pool and added in lane swims in there. We're currently, out of people that are coming for workouts, we're about 88% undergrad, 75% undergrad in the pool. We have a range of there's people who have come in, 4 different people have worked out over 60 times since we reopened in some of our stats. So there's people who are really, there's the demand there, similar to you guys about the booking issues where we have the 3-strike rule. And then we also have since added in the ability to book a workout weight and a workout cardio in the same day. Before we were only doing you could only have one booking of any type in the day. Now we're allowing them to mix up the cardio and the weights. We've also converted one of the rooms, our dance studios, into a extended free weight zone and ordered 9 new sets because our free weights were full within minutes and we have 29 of them that we were operating. So trying to maximize those, we've added in more. And we're kind of doing, just so you have a little bit of, we do about 100 people for an hour. And then on the half hour, we let in another group into 2 other floors. And then as their session ends, the first group ends, it closes. Both of those areas get cleaned while the other 2 are operating. And then it kind of rotates like that on the hour and half hour throughout the day. Customer service wise, we set up a completely separate entrance for people checking in to work out, coming in a different door, showing their COVID attestation, their reservation, making sure they know where they're going. And then they go into kind of a waiting area before they get let into their zones. So it's been a little bit of a rework of how we operate our facility as a whole, but we found it's been quite successful and lots of people are coming. We're constantly full. So we've added in open rec basketball, badminton, and table tennis. Open rec basketball is 1 person, 1 hoop, 1 ball, no sharing. There's no sharing weights between zones or any of that. Everything is basically what you get is in your zone and you stay within your pod, and that is the only place you're allowed to take off your mask.
Awesome. Thanks, James. That's pretty similar to what we're doing right now with drop-in sports with basketball and table tennis. Very similar approach. And yeah, a lot of people want to start playing basketball games with the different hoops. And so our staff have to constantly monitor that. So
similar to Ada, we've had feedback. People want to play squash and that's all they want to do. It's squash, squash, squash. But they don't understand you can't physically distance and play squash. Unless you are not leaving your box and you're it's not the way squash is meant to be played. So there needs to be some contact there.
No, for sure. Thanks, James, for the recap of that. That's pretty similar to our operation. So I may take this conversation offline sometimes, but just really quick, your 3-strike rule. How often do you pull your attendance stats to see if someone hasn't showed up for three sessions?
It's done through a Fusion automation that we have set up.
Yeah.
That if it will keep track of it, and then they will, I think it's our customer service team will pull the report and send that email that night.
Yeah. Do you know, so what's the duration they do that?
Anyone who misses a spot throughout the day will be sent a warning.
Oh.
They get a warning every day that they miss their reservation. And then when it's sent out every day that if there's a 3, you go over your 3, then you're blocked. I can't remember the exact, I think it's a week. You're blacklisted from booking.
Yeah. So that's very similar to what we do. If you miss 3 sessions, your account is froze for a week and you can't book anything. But I'm just curious what the duration is. We usually try to do between 7 to 10 days. So we have enough, kind of data for someone to miss 3 sessions. But it sounds like you guys are pulling that automatically every day then through your software.
Yeah. We try to stay on top of it because they could book 3 days in a row and miss 3 days in a row, and that's kind of irrelevant 4 days later. Yeah. Like you're still blocking them out, but being on them when it's happening. And it's really the early morning sessions that I've noticed the trends with the issues. It's the people booking that, oh yeah, I'm 3 days from now, because we book 3 days out. 3 days from now, I'm going to be up on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. to go to the gym, or Sunday morning at 7 a.m. That makes sense. Where reality takes over and we all understand how life gets, but it's just book when you know you're going to be. And we also do a lot of social media around trying to cancel your bookings too. So we don't penalize anyone for canceling their booking if they make it and it's, their bookings at 3 o'clock today and they cancel it right now. They don't get penalized for that because someone can jump in and get that spot. And just trying to say, always check back, always watch for it, cancel your bookings, be nice to your fellow member type things.
Well, very similar to what we do. Well, that's good to hear. Can they cancel their bookings so they obviously book online? Can they cancel online as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one limitation our software has, is that they can't cancel online right now. So they have to either email or phone in to our frontline staff, which, as you know, a phone call may get missed or an email may get missed. And, sometimes your attendance records can be inaccurate then, or the customer's not happy because they missed their cancellation and then they get a 3-strike and then they're banned for a week, and then that customer is now not happy. So you can see how that kind of snowballs. So it's nice to hear that you guys have the automation and you kind of take some of that human error out of it. So that's kind of cool. Awesome. Thanks, James, for sharing. That's we have very similar kind of procedures of what we're doing, but I'll let Jenna go because I know she was neck and neck with you there. So thanks, James.
Oh, no worries. I'm good if there's another topic. Sounds like we're kind of doing similar things, so.
Yeah, no, is there anything else you want to share, Jenna, on top of that?
No, because we kind of started planning and then I think Queen's got some ideas, so they borrowed some of what we were doing, so.
Pretty similar to what James is doing, hey?
We're a communal NIRSA family.
Yeah, share the ideas, and that's what this calls for too, right?
Really quick. But no, we open for about 10 days in September. And then obviously you probably heard about us in the media. Yeah. So we just reopened, I guess, on November 2nd. So we're kind of back into going through it. Varsity started last week. Pool's opening December 1st. So that's been closed since March. So that'll be fun to go through that. But yeah, same thing as James. We have reservations on Fusion 5 days up to advance, and they can cancel up to 5 minutes before by logging into their account. We have 40, and we're operating on the hour in the weight room and only half an hour for our cardio areas. So we're kind of going back and forth, and we just check people in at the front with a tablet, and it's been very good. Now, the only thing that's different for us is we don't have the staff capacity to go through the no-shows and the cancellations, or the no-show. I guess it's just the no-shows, because cancellations, they remove themselves. But that's something we're just kind of, if it becomes a bigger issue, then we'll worry about it. But we're just kind of letting it slide right now.
Have you seen a lot of no-shows in your attendance?
Yeah, there is some, but it's not like we're not at like 50% or anything like that. But for us, we have our whole staff team, thankfully, like Art, where we haven't really lost anyone on our campus rec team, but we're down pretty slim student staff. And, we chatted about with full-time staff and campus rec saying what's more important. And right now we have other things than kind of going through Fusion reports. So that's one area where we're a bit different, that we just don't have the capacity to be able to go through those reports or put them onto the students. But yeah, otherwise we're pretty similar to Queens. So.
Cool, thanks, Jenna. Really quick, I'll just share too, because I could echo all of you guys as well. The one difference, we've been lucky, we got to open our facilities in July, the start of July. So we ran throughout the summer at really limited capacities, and we were testing a lot of our new systems and stuff. The other interesting part when we were closed from March until July is that we were in the midst of launching new recreation software, and we're using software called Perfect Mind, which is actually Vancouver based, and it's worked out really well for us. But as you guys know, when you launch new software, you have to train your staff and train yourselves and train the trainer and all that stuff. So that was a big challenge in the middle of all that too, but we're lucky we had it because our old software was pretty bad. So we've changed to that, and that worked out really good. The summer was pretty quiet as far as capacities go, but it made it a big challenge for people trying to book in. We got lots of feedback, especially in July, of it's kind of like, booking a concert ticket on Ticketmaster and it sells out within 30 seconds. That's what was happening to us pretty much from July all the way through to September. And my inbox just exploded almost every day. And there's, not much you can really say, is that we have limited capacities and you have to try to book right on, when the session opens up. And we have 2 days in advance, and it seems to work okay for us. We have debated, doing 3 or 4 or 5, even like you guys, Jenna. But we've kind of kept it at 2 right now. That's worked out okay. The other issue with, similar to what I was saying with James, is that our no-shows has been really bad in September and October. Largely our participants, we are open to the public, but largely our participants are students. And for whatever reason, it seems like the students are the ones that are no-showing, whereas the public or the staff and faculty are the ones that will always, kind of out of courtesy phone in or email in. Which has been good. It does take a lot of staff power to do those cancellations and the no-show tracking and the communication. So we're struggling a little bit with that. We're a little bit behind at times, but we're trying to make sure that people are held accountable for not coming and taking up those spots, and a lot of education. We have a lot of more social media presence, like you were saying, James, as well. We got to do a little bit better job of, teaching people of what happens when you don't show up for a session and why we're doing this. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a workout spot. It's not serious, whatever. But to a lot of other people, like I get emails of people saying like, because I can't get in, my mental health is struggling. I'm sitting in my dorm room all day. There's some, it means a lot to people if they can get in, even for once a week, right? So our capacities are quite low. We lowered them to, we have 2 fitness facilities, and they're both at 20 and 25 respectively. Whereas in pre-COVID times, we'd have per hour, we'd have up to 100 to 150 in each area. So we're cut down pretty much by 100 people per hour. So similar to what you were saying, our capacities are nowhere near to what our demand would be. We have about 10,000 people that has been reported living on campus at UBC. Similar to some of the other campuses, UBC is a really international school. So a lot of foreign students have chose to live in dorms and not go back to their home countries. So those people are ones that, want to get out of their dorm rooms and want to get away from their Zoom calls, and they want to come work out. So we've seen obviously a huge demand for people that want to come. But yeah, I think just with our capacities, we're pretty limited. And in BC, similar to Alberta, what Ada was saying, we're starting to see the cases rise quite a bit. Our provincial health officer just last Saturday announced new measures, and what happened was all of our group fitness classes had to be canceled over the next 2 weeks. Probably similar to Ada, so you're shaking her head. So we had to cancel all of our spin classes, our group fitness classes, all of our yoga classes. So right now we're just basically operating our 2 fitness facilities, as well as our drop-in sports, like James was saying, basketball, 1 person, 1 hoop, 1 ball, badminton, table tennis. So very similar to what James is doing, and that's all we can offer. So our offerings are super limited to what we're usually, offering our students and our community members. But I think a lot of people are still appreciative of that we're still open, but we're kind of on thin ice because we're waiting for some more health measures over the next few weeks, because the Vancouver area and Surrey area are spiking really bad right now. So I think there's going to be some more some more lockdowns, I think, and I think we might get hit as far as fitness facilities go again. So, well, you know, next time we have this call, it might be a little bit different as well. So I think we're going to have a rough winter, probably similar to what you guys are facing in Toronto too, Art. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at, pretty similar to what you guys are. Is there anyone else on this call that wants to share that's any other different information or different experiences that, you know, the 6 of us have shared so far? Anyone else? No? Okay, sounds like we all have pretty similar experiences. Is there any other topics you guys want to talk about? I got a few other topics as well, but is there anyone else who wants to share some ideas?
I'm just a little bit curious about the different physical barriers that have been utilized and or mask requirements, face covering requirements, staff, patrons, if there's anything, you know, any particulars that people have gotten into, or if it's basically plexiglass and, you know, whatever mask covering the patron or staff feels is appropriate. Just curious.
What are you guys doing right now, Art, for your barriers?
So yeah, we've got plexiglass at the customer service area and at the main entrance where we have a bit of a greeter, attestation, that kind of stuff. We have plexiglass in those 2 spots, and then you know, we've left patrons and or staff to use whatever face coverings they felt were appropriate. I think there might be 1 or 2 cases where we've said, you know, can I learn a little bit more about that face covering you have, or get the damn thing over your nose. I'm sure you've all gone through that. But I'm curious if people have taken it another level. I mean, Jenna mentioned tablet. Is that in order to keep further distance from the people? Or, you know, have you had any mask incidents where you've had to turn people away because it wasn't appropriate? Have you gone that far with it? I'm just curious about that.
It reminds me of an elementary school desk, and then we've put plexiglass so that for the tablet kind of corresponds with Fusion. So we have it set up that each registration is a class, so an instructor can go in and check them in. So they check in with our staff out in the kind of atrium, and then they scan in. So we're not letting anybody into the building unless they actually have a reservation. So that's our one checkpoint. If they get there and they don't have a mask, then either we ask them to get one, or we actually have a big stack of the medical ones that, oh my gosh, I completely forgot I was running from class or whatever. So we'll get them one, and then just remind them next time to have it. For our membership services desk, everything is fully plexiglass. And then we have our card scanner behind the plexiglass so that there's no kind of touching the same device by everybody. So there's kind of a barrier there, and you really just have to put it in front. There's probably a couple centimeters. You don't actually have to touch it. So that's kind of what we have in place. But yeah, no, we are not supposed to supply masks, but we're just, you know, we don't want to send someone home, and like Nathan said, his mental health is so important right now. So we'd rather kind of give one. And I think we've maybe, since we've been open in the, let's call it the month between September and November, like given out like 3, let's say. So it's not very common, but yeah, it's incredibly important. We have had to remind people going from to their pod or leaving their pod or even to the water fountain to put their mask on and put it over their nose. But the only real issue that we see is people sneaking or trying to sneak from one pod to another. And that's just, they'll pick up their little pylon that shows us we need to sanitize that area, and they'll move it. So that's really the only thing that we've had. But yeah, plexiglass has been our go-to, and it's worked out fine.
Yeah, for us, similar to Jenna, we have 3 desks set up in our check-in area. They're set up as a full computer desk workstation with a plexi kind of sneeze guard in front of everyone. And then we just look through the plexiglass. Our queue services desks are all now completely encased in plexiglass, so it's like a fishbowl for them, adding that layer of safety, similar to our Q Sport Medicine department, which is now operational. Their desk there is completely encased. And then all of our pods are taped out. There's no actual physical barriers, but we've set all of our pods up so that there's adequate space between all of the pieces of equipment. And similar in Jenna's case, where it's people going to get you know, a dumbbell that they may not have in their pod going over to another pod to grab it. So we try to crack down on that as much as possible. We have zone monitors to kind of keep on top of that stuff, try to remind people of the protocols.
Yeah, we have very similar to what you guys just mentioned. We have plexiglass around all of our customer service desks. We try to keep our staff away from our patrons. The one question I had to just start around face coverings. We require all of our patrons and staff to wear face coverings in all of our facilities. The only time they can take them off is if they're at their activity station. So if they're, you know, doing free weights, they can take it off then. And once they leave our fitness facility, they have to put it back on. But I was just talking to my colleague this morning, quick, with our, you know, ever increasing numbers here. We're debating if our fitness facility users should be wearing masks all the time when they're working out. I know we'll have a little bit of pushback because obviously breathing's an issue, especially if you're doing some cardio or some heavy workouts. But I feel like there's a little bit of a need for that. I was just looking at one of our facilities this morning, about half of our users were wearing masks and the other half weren't. So it's just kind of what people are comfortable with right now. But you're starting to see more and more people wearing masks when they're working out. When we opened in July, no one was wearing masks. And we actually, similar to what Jenna was saying, we had to hand out masks at the door because we didn't want to turn anyone away either. So off the start, and especially in the summer when people weren't quite used to the protocols and masks and stuff, we were going through like 50 masks every like 2 days. With people not bringing them and like not realizing that they needed to wear them. And then eventually we stopped handing them out because, as you know, we only had so many supplies and we just didn't want to have that as an expectation. And then we've had to turn a few people away that have came without masks. So I've had to do that too, and it's unfortunate, but people have to understand that a little bit. So it's kind of interesting around masks. I'm curious if people would actually wear masks when they're working out, or when they're doing their activity, you know, if they're shooting hoops or not. I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are.
Well, it's funny you bring this up, and I know that this will come up a bit more in the fitness meeting as well, but I don't mind jumping in a touch. So I'm also the manager of the fitness and lifestyles area, and the exercise physiologist in me initially wanted nothing to do with hypoxic training or you know, trying to do some heavy work with a mask on. And now I'm more I'm more of the safe guy. Like, whatever you can do with your mask on, do it. If it's too much and you can't do it with your mask on, don't do it. And I think we'll get a lot more data on this type of training during this time, which, you know, hasn't existed in this kind of manner. You know, when it comes to swimming, they've done some pretty good data, but not training with a mask the way we're needing to now. So I'm looking forward to data steering this in one direction, but I'd be happy to say masks on at all time. If you don't like it, reduce the intensity. I'm sorry, that's all we can offer. And I think people will still come.
Are you guys thinking about transitioning to masks on all the time soon?
I am, and I've started to plant some seeds. But again, I was the guy before that said, I don't want to do that. So I want to learn a little bit more before I start shooting my mouth off too much about it. To be honest with you.
Yeah. No, that's good to hear, because we're kind of in the same mentality right now. So I don't know. Jenna, what do you think?
Well, I was just going to say, Nathan, if you needed to contact Tanya Angus from University of Manitoba, I know they're closed now, but she did require, she's the manager there, and I think just before they closed, they did require that their participants wear masks. So I'm not sure if maybe you want to connect with her and see kind of how they approached that and what worked and what didn't. But I know they're closed now, but I feel like right before they closed, they did have that new change.
Yeah, well, Jenna, thanks. I know Winnipeg's been hit pretty hard lately too, so yeah, for sure. I saw Colin raise his hand.
I was just going to add to this kind of topic. Karen McAllister, our director, actually was telling me last week before the weekend that she had a study come across her desk last week out of U of A or University of Saskatchewan. I can't remember exactly, and I could probably ask her for it, but some of the preliminary studies were showing kind of to what Art was just speaking to, is that you're going to see, I think, more people enforcing wearing masks in fitness, and then that there's actually little to, I don't want to say negative because I'm not the scientist, but it's actually this initial study saying that the VO2 max and the other tests they were doing was there was actually no negative impact to the person working out. Now, obviously, it depends on probably the nature of whatever you're doing, but to Art's point, like if you're just lifting your weights, and maybe not exerting yourself to a high capacity, you probably could get away with asking our users to keep a mask on full time. So similar to York, I think we're starting to toy with the idea here that right now they don't have to wear one when they're in their activity space. They have to wear one when they're in transition, and they have to wear one when they're in the general facility moving about and checking in. But when they're actually doing said activity in our workout space, they don't have to wear one. But I think it's going to come. I think it's just a next level of us being able to stay open versus the other alternative, unfortunately, with the way case counts and stuff are going. So if you want, I can tap our director on the shoulder and see if she has a link to said study, because it might be some good preliminary information for everyone.
Yeah, that'd be great, Colin, if you could distribute that, or we can get that sent out through the NIRSA channel. So
I'll do that.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. It's good to know. So I think I agree with you. I think, you know, it's going to be wearing masks, or we're going to have to shut down. So, and to Art's point, if you don't like it, don't come, right? Or do your best and work out with your mask on, because I think that's kind of where we're going. And yeah, I was even asking some of my student staff that work the front desk if they were feeling comfortable, and they do, but they were saying that if all the participants wore it during their activity time, they'd feel a lot more comfortable because they are around people close enough when they're monitoring the zones and things. So I think that's kind of where our next step is. So does anyone else have any comments or questions about protective shields or face coverings in their facilities? Ada, do you have anything else to add?
I just think it's interesting because I had that same question on my mind before you brought it up, just wondering if anyone else had started to think about that at all. So obviously, yes, other people are thinking about it and considering it. I think it might be a hard sell for us at first. But again, like you guys said, if we want to stay open, we have to do what we have to do. So.
Yeah, I've even noticed here, like, you know, all of our staff wear masks, but some of our varsity training staff that work in high performance center, at first they were just wearing their masks, but now it's almost like they've all transitioned to wearing masks and face shields. So it's almost like everyone's kind of going even that next little step further. And this morning, you know, in casual conversation, hallway conversation, I heard someone say, like, maybe we need to adopt that as well. Even though our customer service check-in points, we have Plexi, we have all the other measures in place, but it's kind of like, let's hit this every which way we can to try and protect everyone so that we can stay open.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Colin. Brian or Linda, do you have any other comments on that?
I can just add in on our drop-in activities. So we're making it mandatory for everybody to wear their masks during their drop-in activities. Again, mostly a lot of everything's been the same that everybody's said. One person per hoop. Table tennis and badminton is only singles. But we're making people for the drop-in activities wear masks. Our fitness facility has been open since September 14th. Only 4 people allowed in at a time. We're very small at College of the Rockies compared to everybody else, but everybody has to wear their masks while they're checking in, and then up until they get into their zone, then they can take it off, and then if they transition from zones, they need to wear it, and then when they leave, put their mask back on when they're signing out.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian.
I think like I was working at the front desk last time we were open, and for the most part, we, like, all of our clients were great wearing their masks. Like, we didn't really have anyone like argue with us. They would wear it in and then head up to the fitness center. But I mean, for York, Art has kind of said it all. So
I got another topic that I'm curious about, because I've had to personally deal with it, was refunds when we shut down in March. Did everyone have to do refunds for their memberships / drop-ins or whatever else, their programs that were affected? Yeah. Is everyone completed their refunds now?
No, so we went through, I guess probably we didn't have access again to the facility till May. So we just kind of kept people on hold. It's still, I want to say, revolving, like we're students only. So as faculty and staff are like, well, I realize I'm probably not getting in anytime soon. I better get my refund. So it's kind of one-offs. And then I actually had to clear all of our lockers. So any rental lockers. So as I emailed people to pick up their stuff, we did them there. But yeah, I did some math the other day, doing a fusion report. And I think we still have about just under 500,000 to still issue. So it's a big scary number, and that's knowing we've already issued a lot. So it's not pretty.
Well, I feel for you, Jenna. I've done refunds pretty much straight. When we were closed, I had to come into our facility to access our systems as well. So I was the only one here just doing refunds for pretty much all of April, all of May, and then half of June. And then we're still getting refund requests trickling in now. So I still have like another like 200 or so to process. And similar to you, our financial hit we took on it was substantial, and it's scary when you add it up. So it was a lot of, first of all, work, and then it was a lot of big hit on our overall budget. So obviously we did the prorated amount for when we closed on March, what was it, 13th or 14th, I think it was. Probably everyone closed around the same time there. So we did a prorated amount for the rest of the semester, and then yeah, people were coming out of the woodworks. You know, you could look at their attendance history, they never even worked out, but they had a membership, and of course they could email us right away for the refund. So I found that quite interesting. Did anyone else have to deal with refunds over the last few months or the summer? Yeah.
So I was kind of handling all of York's refunds from the time, roughly May, I would say, when we started issuing. We were kind of doing more just on request. So we have, like, if somebody were to email our general account, they'd go to me, and we'd first we'd inform them, like, okay, yeah, if you want to extend, then we'll do that, like, tacked on to the end. And I think, Jenna, you mentioned that Fusion can do a report on that, or at some point. I think you mentioned that in June or something like that. But yeah, so I've just been, as they come up, we haven't done any lockers. We're just extending lockers kind of indefinitely until it runs out, which seems to have made a lot of people happy. We have had some people pick up their stuff, but they want to extend their lockers once we do resume. So there's still a demand on that. But we're just kind of playing it by ear at this point.
Well, that's good to hear, Lynn. And on the note of lockers, we had a very similar thing in our student recreation center. We had to clear out all of our lockers. So when we opened again in July, I had my staff help me with that, and we bagged them all up and marked them down and contacted people to come get your contents. But unfortunately, a lot of people are no longer, you know, in Vancouver area or on campus or can get here or wherever they are. So we still have like 200 bags of people's, you know, Nike runners and towels and shampoo bottles and stuff. That's still there. So I still have to figure out, actually this week I'm going to be working on a plan to, like, what we're going to do with our last 200 bags. We've already went through 200 of people came and picked them up, and we issued their refund similar to what you did, Jenna, as well. But yeah, retrieval, and I just see Art's note there, retrieval is tough. I think for everyone. So it makes me feel a little better to hear that you guys are going through a similar thing. You have bags and lockers full of stuff, and you don't know when people are going to come get their stuff. But my question is too around lockers, since you brought that up, Linda, how long are you going to keep people's contents for, realistically? Because who knows how long we're going to be in this situation for, right? It could be next year this time. But I don't know how long we need to keep people's running shoes for, you know, or gym shoes.
Well, I know one of the ways we were looking at it was that, like, for whatever the duration, like we stopped in May, and then, okay, yeah, they paid until April. So we're going to extend it. I just saw Art's note. Yeah, so we're going to extend it. But I think once we do get to the point where we're resuming regular operations, our senior management team will probably have some thoughts on what to do. Like, we have to figure out what we're going to do with international people who've contacted us already inquiring about their stuff. But I think that's a conversation well above where I am at this point.
Yeah, I think, sorry, Jenna, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so yeah, we cleaned them out, and the only reason was I didn't want to keep stuff in the locker, because when we reopen, like, there's no way you're gonna be able to have rows of lockers anymore. So I knew that by clearing everything out, bagging it, there would be some left behind. I've actually already shipped a few to Vancouver by but we realized you're probably gonna have to close every 5, and then there's 1, then close every 5. So in order for us to restart, yeah, we made a lot of people upset because they're like, I've had this locker since the day the building opened. Well, great, we understand, but, you know, I can't have, you know, Art and Nathan showing up at the same time and their lockers are beside each other. So we're going to keep things until April 30th, which will just be over a year, and it's the end of the academic year. So that's what we're going for. And then after that point, like I've sent multiple emails, and what I actually did is I put on the red receipts. So I made an Excel of all the bags I have, and when I emailed out to everyone, I put to notify me if they've read the email, so at least I know they've seen it. And then I went back to my list and kind of bolded the names that have read the emails, and then I know who has no idea what's going on. And then it just kind of gives you more idea. If they've read it and they don't care, then maybe that's when you kind of put in a different pile of, we'll donate it come May 1st. But some people have just replied back and they're like, just keep it, donate it, give it to someone who needs it. So
Yeah, no, that's good, Jenna. Thanks for that. I think we'll probably do something similar to the end of April. It probably makes sense. Because, yeah, I don't want to hold on to them for another year. And I laughed at Art's note, too. Some of the bags are pretty smelly in there. We pulled out one bag that had 7 pairs of shoes in it, which is ridiculous. And they're all really nice shoes, too. So if I was that person, I'd want to come get my stuff. It's been sitting here for 7 months now. So, but, yeah, we'll have to send out more emails again because we've done the same thing, Jenna. We send out multiple emails over the spring and summer. And I think a lot of people just don't care. They're not coming back to get their stuff. So it's, I think we're going to have to do some donations in April. So
the slight difference for us is people haven't been allowed to come and get their stuff. So we had a brief window for 3 weeks when we reopened to that limited capacity, where we did, actually it was only 2 of those 3 weeks, where we allowed them to pre-register to come in for locker items retrieval. So we were hitting, 20 to 30 a day of the almost 2,000 you saw that we might have. So we have tons of people that want to pick up their things. We're just not letting them.
Do you know what we did, Art, which actually worked out really well? Because we had the same thing, is that people want to come get their stuff, but we didn't want to let anyone in who wasn't registered into a session or activity. So we actually, in one of our email communications in the summer, we said, you can come get your stuff during our operating hours, but you have to knock on the door or phone our main number. And then our staff would go outside and meet them, what's your name? Go grab their bag and then leave it to them outside. And they say, there's your bag. They stay away from them. They grab their stuff, check off that they got their stuff, and it worked out really good that they didn't have to come into our facility. Maybe that's an idea you can do. It might be tougher with the cold weather and snow and rain and stuff, but that way it keeps the participant or the person coming to get their stuff out of the facility. Might work.
Yeah, Nathan, that was one of the probably 12 processes that we bantied about, and things ended up getting decided at a very high level. People that weren't even really involved with our athletics and recreation center. I'm not going to argue with what we decided to do eventually, but say, yeah, exactly what you mentioned was one of the things we were looking at for sure.
What we did, I just put the link for the form, but they filled that out and then we bagged them. And I actually sent out a doodle poll, as silly as it sounds, but there was half an hour time slots and I maxed it out at 10 people. And then they got specific examples. So I knew Art, Nathan, Ada, Colin, Brian, and Linda were coming Friday between 11:30 and 12 p.m. I had the bags in the areas. We have 2 sets of sliding doors. I was in the middle there. They'd come up, I'd ask to see a piece of photo ID, and then I'd give them their bag and away they went. So there was kind of not even any interaction with staff other than myself, and they had to be fully masked from the time they got out of their car until they got back into their car. So it just, with Doodle, you can actually see who signed up, and then you just pull those 10 bags, put them in that area, and then you just can hand them out that way. It was super easy, but it sounds like you might not even have any control.
Well, can I just ask, I think you mentioned this already, I just want to confirm, Jenna. So, one of the things that we didn't do was empty all the lockers and then do that. Say, listen, we got a big storage room full of locker items here. We're going to organize how to do it. We did pre-registration. People had to go into their own locker with, their own key, their own combination. We didn't cut locks and do it that way. So if you took all the contents out of the lockers and you've got an extra 600 bags that haven't been picked up, are you giving them notice to say pick it up by this date or we're donating it? Is that what I heard you say earlier?
Yeah, so round 1 was if they emailed us, we'd send them the link. So that was kind of May to July, let's say. In August, I was like, we got to get this stuff out of here. So then I emailed anyone in Fusion that was attached to a locker and said, we're cleaning out lockers. You can fill out this form, but if we don't have your form by, let's say, August 31st, we're still going to be going in anyways. So then we'd bag it. I actually got just printer labels and wrote their name and their locker number and stuck it on the garbage bag. And then I alphabetized them by first name. So they're all literally in order. And then when we get an email that's like, oh, I just saw your email. Can I come grab my stuff? Yep. I go right to A, I grab Art's bag, and here's the date and time you can come pick it up. So, and then we now have hundreds of bags that, like Nathan said, are just sitting there. And now we got to reopen our change rooms for the pool. So I just kind of have to figure out a new home for those. But yeah, it's just, for us, we knew we were going to have to reconfigure the change rooms. So it's easier to kind of be ahead of it than to be reactive and trying to scramble last minute.
That's exactly what we did, Jenna, too. We use clear garbage bags too, so you see the content. So someone's like, I have pink Nikes, in case there's a debate about it. And then, yeah, we just stuck printer labels on it, their name, their locker number. It worked out really good. Yeah, but we still have a bunch of bags that we don't know what to do with. So, yeah, I think we're going to do April 30th, and we're going to donate, and we'll have to send out another message this fall here, you know, saying you got a few more months to come get them. And then after that, we're going to donate, I think. So.
Did anyone get pushback from people about cleaning out their lockers instead of having them do it, like privacy, or they didn't want you to clean it out?
We did have some. I think for the most part, people are pretty understanding. I was actually scared to attach my name to the email sending out because people are just going to hate me, because they, like, our lockers, if you want to rent a locker, you have to be there at 6 a.m. So it's not like an easy thing to come across. So I was a little worried. We just kind of explained that it's going to be full-time staff. Student aren't in the facility. So it'll be 2 full-time staff who are taking all of the precautions to keep their items safe. But at this point, like, I was just typing a message to Art saying I put together a whole document to send to the COVID committee to get permission. So I'll send that off to you to see if that'll help you. But for us, it was like, no one's in the facility. We know you want your stuff back. So this is kind of the only option right now. And they understood. One girl was like, well, I don't want people to see my, like, personal, you know, items in my locker. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, we use black garbage bags to keep it private. So people were pretty understanding. It's not, and I kept saying, I'm like, it's not just Western doing it, it's the whole world going through things. So when you kind of phrase it that way, they're like, yeah, you're right. Like, I understand. You guys have to do what you have to do. So.
Yeah, same as us. We didn't have too much pushback. People understood it. They were just happy to get their stuff back because, yeah, our facilities were closed all spring. So once we handed their garbage bag, they were happy to get their running shoes back and whatever else. So the only pushback we got, one guy had a locker in our facility since 2001. He was a faculty member, and believe it or not, he had cassette tapes of his old workout mixes in there too. So, like, we had 3 bags. His bags were so heavy. So he was laughing about that. He's like, I can't believe you cleaned all that stuff out. So, but most people are pretty good with it because we also wanted to do a really good clean and disinfection of all the lockers as well. And then we've since reopened a very limited amount of rental lockers. So we did every 5. And we only have, like, I think 6 people that have rented them for this fall. So it's very limited, but same as exactly what Jen was saying, you can't have all those lockers beside each other. So we had to mark, you know, every 5th one that's a rental. But because people aren't coming as often as they used to, people are just, you know, coming changed, or they're just changing quick. And we're allowing bags into fitness facilities now, which because we have the room isn't a big deal right now. So a lot of people are just, you know, wearing their raincoat and they take it off when they come in and start working out. So it's worked out okay.
I think what we're doing instead of lockers come winter is everyone's going to get a storage tote. So each pod will have a storage tote, and they'll put all of their stuff kind of in that tote, and we'll sanitize it between each workout. But we just want to start, since the change rooms haven't been open since March, we want to kind of slowly start and just focus on the pool using the change room, and then kind of see how that goes.
That's a good idea of totes. Then you don't have to worry about lockers at all then. Yeah. We're doing lockers where you can bring your own lock just for your session. And then our staff are cleaning them in between sessions, which has worked out okay so far. But our weather, luckily, our fall has been okay so far. So once it gets a little colder and rainier here, we may see some issues with that. So that I'll keep that tote idea in the back of my mind. That's a good idea.
It's just the boots we got to figure out a solution for.
Yeah. Yeah, because you want to keep your facility clean too, right? You don't want snow and mud everywhere. Cool. I had one more. Sorry, Colin, did you want to jump in here?
Sorry, I had to run and open a door for someone, so I might have missed it. But I dumped it's more of an article that references the study, so I put it in the chat. If the link doesn't work, let me know. I can send it individually to people as well. But it looks like it's an article that references said research paper. So I guess you'd have to seek out where the research paper lives if you wanted to get the more specifics. And then the tote thing, we're using totes in our workout, currently in our workout facility. Right now, our workout facility is actually displaced into a court and a gymnasium because our workout facility was set to open in September, and hopefully it will reopen here in November because we just expanded 3 times its size. So everyone's really jacked about a new space, but obviously what a crappy time to, you know, do a ribbon cutting with student union and everyone that paid for it with no one to like show it off to. So, but yeah, no, the tote thing's working so far, but to Jenna's point, right now we're really trying to figure out boots because we have varsity teams coming in for doing practices and high performance training, and they come in kind of pods and waves, and we'll just have salt and snow everywhere with no lockers. So that's kind of on our to-do list right now as well.
Well, thanks, Colin, for that. That's good. It looks like we're almost at the end of the hour, because I think that's all we're scheduled for. And I realize everyone's probably got busy schedules right now or working from home. So maybe we can wrap it up here. Is there any other comments or questions that anyone want to bring up before we all jump off?
I can just add from for our teams, we have our teams enter through a side entrance to our facility, and then we have mats and whatnot laid out on the floor for them, and then they exit through that same facility entrance as well. So they don't actually, so they enter a side door, take off their shoes, go onto the court, do their practice, and then exit through the same way as well. So shoes aren't on the floor at all.
So that's good to know. Cool. Any other comments, questions before we jump off?
This is great. Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks for organizing, Jenna.
Yeah. Thanks to both of you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. That was great. That was a good conversation. I think I've got a few items that I can take away and use in our operations. And yeah, it's really nice to hear that. I think we're all going through similar experiences with refunds and lockers and different COVID procedures and staffing challenges and masks. So great conversation. It makes me feel a lot better because I felt a little overwhelmed this morning with some of our operations. So it's good to know that we're all going through this together. And thanks, Jennifer, for sending out all the emails. I think we could maybe do a reach out if we want to share some more ideas. And if we want to schedule another call through the NIRSA channels, we could do that too, maybe in the new year. That'd be great.
For sure. And I'll make sure that everyone on this channel is in the membership customer services email list that's on our Google Drive. So that way, if you want to email people, you don't have to email all NIRSA. It's just kind of anyone in this role.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I really appreciate it. And good luck with everyone in their respective schools.